to start by thanking Nuffield and my sponsors, the Royal Highland Agricultural Society of Scotland, just for their support for this fantastic opportunity. This last 2 years has just been a fantastic journey, and I'm so pleased to become part of this Nuffield Positive Network. I would also like to thank my family and staff, because while I was away enjoying the trip of a lifetime, they were enduring a month of Arctic weather conditions, and to keep the wheels turning in those conditions, it's way beyond the call of duty, and I'm immensely grateful for their efforts and for not making me feel too guilty when I get home. Now, my subject is entrepreneurship, and I'm very aware that to stand in front of a Nuffield audience and talk about entrepreneurship is like teaching a grandmother to suck eggs, because I've been to previous Nuffield conferences, the business group and the dairy study group, and I know that Nuffield's are as entrepreneurial as you'll ever come across. But at the same time, I know that there are a lot of agricultural businesses out there that are not moving forward, that are very much set in their ways and are dependent on subsidies. And I know that Nuffield's are not typical. So my study was partly motivated by a desire to understand why some businesses were capable of great things, while others were capable backwards. And from that it was, well, how can you encourage rural businesses in general to be more dynamic in their thinking? There were personal motivations as well. I wanted to go out there and meet from the best operators I could, and challenge myself in terms of my business abilities and how I could contribute to our industry. I'm very lucky that, unlike Roman and Michael, I have a very sound business at home. But at the same time, I felt I had to be prepared to challenge myself in how professional I was at what I did, and also how was I making best use of my assets. So before I go into the heart of my subject, I'd just like to give you a view of where I went and who I saw. My first 2 weeks were in the US, and the first week was in Columbia in Missouri, and the Rural Policy Research Institute and the Centre for Rural Entrepreneurship are based at the university there. And I spent a week just with academics, extension officers, businesses and communities that these guys work with. And these guys are at the cutting edge of entrepreneurship as a tool for rural development, and it was an ideal basis for my study. My second week took me to Pennsylvania. It was for a follow-up on contacts that established at the Contemporary Scholars Conference. It was much more dairy-based, and I visited some real progressive family businesses, leading lights in the US co-ops and in the US dairy industry in general. Next, it was on to China as part of the group, and this picture really encapsulates China for me. It's this tension between this new thrusting developing country and still 80% of the population are subsistence peasant farmers. And trips to Sarita, Interpreter's Village, and just to get a handle on the whole culture of China just was really enlightening. And entrepreneurship is what is driving this new Chinese model. And it was very important to go there and just understand the potentials and the pitfalls of doing business in that environment. From there it was on to down under, and I spent 2 weeks in Australia, mostly in Victoria and Tasmania. This is a guy called Rob Henry. Some of you may know him. He's a real Australian Nuffield stalwart, a very, very innovative businessman, growing a whole host and processing a whole host of really exciting crops under drip irrigation, not least heroin poppies. This was a business in North Victoria. A couple of brothers milking 1,500 cows. They'd set up their own processing business, and they were selecting their cows to produce A2 milk proteins, which is beneficial to those who are intolerant to lactose. So the Asian market was a big, big potential for them. On to 2 weeks in New Zealand. Now, I absolutely loved New Zealand. It was Scotland with sunshine, It doesn't get any better than that. And I loved the Kiwi business mindset, and it was really fascinating to see how people have built up some really tremendous businesses from very modest beginnings, in an unsubsidized environment as well. So, entrepreneurship, it's a massive subject, and I set out my study to keep it as broad as I could, because it was very much a spirit of, well, I don't know. But I just wanted to go out there and meet people who were either really dynamic and expanding their businesses, or were really innovative and doing something a bit different and diversifying. But when it came to writing a report, I had to be more definitive about what I meant about entrepreneurship. And to me, it fell into two elements. One was the ability to go out there and see opportunities that were round about me. But then that also had to be aligned with the ability to actually deliver on the potential of those opportunities. So I used quotes to substantiate my arguments in my report. And Lanier's argument was that opportunities don't happen by accident. They happen because people are open and they are predisposed to the possibilities. Now that, again, kind of fell into two sides of the equation. First was motivation, and this was about the real inner drivers of these people. And this is quite complicated because we all have different things that make us tick. But what was very, very clear was just how driven these guys had. They had a real inner need, and they were very, very focused about what they wanted to achieve. And they had set themselves targets, and they knew they were going to do X, Y, and Z to get there. And when they achieved something, they always set this the bar high for the next target. Outlook was really just about attitude to life, and I don't need to say it in here. These guys were positive, they were innovative, they were lateral thinkers, they were networkers, and I could go on and on. The other side of the equation, now Brian is a banker, great name for a banker, but his argument, not surprisingly, was, yeah, it's great to have the ideas, but at the end of the day, it's about delivery. And again, I split that into two elements. First was business skills, and for me that was about profit focus within the business. It was about the use of KPIs, the resourcefulness and the use of capital and the likes. But then again, businesses are all about people. So leadership was all about the people skills. It was about people's self-awareness of their own abilities, their own strengths and weaknesses, how they built teams around that, how they motivated people, how they energized people. So when I put that all together, that became what was effectively my model of entrepreneurship, I suppose. And I accept it's subjective and it's overlapping, but in terms of analysing the data and all the information I got from the successful people I visited, it helped me just make sense of everything that I had observed. So from there, it's how can you encourage entrepreneurship? And I'm just going to highlight a few of the things that I came across. And financial incentives, now I am as anti-subsidy as anyone, but the reality is that we have them. And my argument is that it's better that they act in a proactive fashion than just be subsidies for subsidy's sake. Now, the renewable sector shows that how an industry can be led if the carrot is there. And in the US, the USDA have got a whole lot of grants and incentives and they argue that they are effective, but at the same time they have side effects, and you have to be very careful. The biofuels was highlighted to me as an example. So my conclusion on this side was yes, potentially have an effect, but you have to make sure that you use the right carrot. Start young. Now, this is all about giving young people the encouragement and the role models to take control of their own destiny. In the US, the 4-H movement, which is the equivalent of the young farmers in this country, is all about citizenship, entrepreneurship, and leadership. This was a course I came across through David Taverner, son of Rolly Taverner, who is sitting in the audience. But David is a very, very entrepreneurial young man, and this course was all about equipping young people with life skills to equip themselves really in any walk of life. And to me, it was all about sowing the seeds of confidence really at a young age. Lifelong learning, it doesn't matter how you start off in life, you have to be prepared to continually push yourself. And I came across wealth creation courses, leadership courses all over the world, and Nuffield itself. And to me, it's all about upskilling the cream of the industry. And the argument is if you lead from the front, you take the whole industry with you. But there needs to be a general acceptance across the industry of a need for continual professional development. Peer support. The networks that are created by these courses I mentioned are invaluable, and this conference absolutely encapsulates that. Positive people rub off on each other. The Kiwis were the instigators of business discussion groups as a way of business learning. And when I was out there, it's what a powerful tool that was when it's done right. And we need to get better in this country at doing that. And it's about having the right people around you to encourage you and support you. So just to pull it all together, my feeling was that we need to instigate cultural change. And culture was something that came out very strongly in my study. It can be negative and be very, very hard to change. But at the same time, if you can turn it, it can be a real powerful force in driving the industry along. And none of these things I've come across here are new to this country, and none of them in themselves are game-changing. But it's all about being better at doing them and learning from others in the world and how to do that. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it was all about instilling confidence. And to go back to my original model, was give people the confidence to go out there and seek opportunities, but also the self-belief to actually have a goal. And at an industry level, cultural change to me was about changing the conversation, and it was about how we talk about ourselves and how we talk within ourselves. And revolving around that were things like a can-do spirit, where risk-taking is actually encouraged rather than discouraged. It was about accentuating the positives in our industry. And the dairy industry, a lot of guys, believe it or not, making really good money at dairy. And we have to be prepared to tell people that and set these guys up as role models. Upskill a language. In New Zealand, profit, capital, net worth, all these things are just everyday words to these guys. And we need a bit more of that. And ultimately, it's about taking responsibility for our own industry. And it's our industry. No one else is more passionate about it than we are, and no one else has a more vested interest in making it work than us. And that's why I have stuck by cooperation all these years. It's why I've taken a role in Dairy Co, because it's our industry. It's up to us to fix it and put it right. So what have I personally gained just to finish out of Nuffield? Now, I didn't have any single life-changing moments. I certainly wasn't kidnapped. But if I could take you back to O'Neill's quote, because that absolutely defines what Nuffield has been for me. It's advanced my thinking on so many different levels, probably far more than even I realise. It's made me challenge myself as a business person and probably challenge my own goals and aspirations as a person. And actually, writing my report was quite challenging because there was quite a strong personal element to it. In terms of my core business, it's just advanced it in so many ways, because my peer group alone is some of the best grassland operators I've ever come across in the country, and I've learned masses from these guys. The dairy study group, I've made some fantastic friends in that, guys who I can really bounce ideas around with, and that just is invaluable to me. And just to finish, I'm sure these last 2 years have prepared me. They've given me the capabilities, they've given me the credibility, I think, and they've given me a real confidence to go out there and take on opportunities and the challenges that I've no doubt that life is going to throw at me. So, thank you very much.